in my emergency residency at the St. Mary's Hospital. I had grown used to the abundant ambulance sirens, gunshot wounds, broken bones, drug overdoses, and the smell of grinding poverty. It was in all days work. There was a reason why emergency medicine doctors made the money they did. Already this morning, the patient hit me in the face with her purse after I denied her prescription for oxycodone, and I could hear that we had a screamer threatening the admission clerks as I was charting on my iPad into head med host, a drunk and disorientatingly city hall jail who had presented with incredibly high blood pressure of 261 over 136. The overhead pager echoed throughout the apartment. Code trauma now, code trauma now. I went to the trauma room, donning my gown, gloves, and a mask. I had expected the pharmacies with a stretcher, but with two order lines, the paramedics were pushing a gunnery. My eyes widened as I saw the patient. His name was Billy Wong, and he had a second-year psychiatrist resident, and he was one of my friends. One of the nurses in the room begins to document all the trauma findings in the trauma flow sheet that I had dictated as I examined Billy. To save his life, I have to see for the moment just another patient, not the person who I carpooled in the hospital, but he coned me into playing the St. Mary's Knights soccer club. Patient is an Asian American, 29 years old. The patient is unconscious and presented to be as unconscious. I turned to the order lines who had brought him in. What happened? I went to hit him in the head in the paradex, but found him passed out on the floor like he slipped and fell. How long have you been down? The orderly shrugged. Maybe 15 minutes. I had just seen him with the patient. Did he regain consciousness at any time? The orderly shook his head. Nothing, not a peep. You got that? I asked the nurse as she nodded. Patient blood pressure, 171 over 100. His pulse is 50 and respiration seems irregular. The patient is bleeding from a circular wound on the left side of his back of his head. Looks like 25 millimeters in diameter. I wondered what in that bathroom that could possibly such a perfectly clean 1-inch diameter in injury that could picture anything. The wound appears to be very heavily depressed into his skull, about a centimeter. I checked his eyes. The patient's right pupils dilated and non-responsive. Clear fluid is leaking out of the patient's nose and ears. Symptoms indicate that the injury has caused a severe traumatic concussion into the head. I am cleaning the wound and applying the bandage. The rest of us in the neuro team. I turned to the nurse. CT scan his head, stat. I had never had any clue on what would walk in during my shift of emergency. Having an old friend on the table with a life-threatening injury, something I had never even considered. I notified the neurosurgery group to get a team together and prepared, with a skull depression that Billy was going to need it. Residents are taught to suck it up. I kept thinking of his wife. She was 8 months pregnant with her first, and she could be a widow by the time my shift was over. I saw my wife and my children. This time I couldn't just turn the feelings off like a machine. I tossed my gloves, gown, and mask in the trash. I'll be right back. I went out the back doors of the emergency department and went to the chapel. Vera lit a candle and said a silent prayer. I kept visualizing the location of the injury. What part of the brain could be injured? Could it be the temporal lobe or the auditory cortex? If he were lucky, it would be just his hearing in his ear would be impaired. If not, he would lose the ability in language and memory. That would make it difficult to be a doctor. I suddenly and utterly desperately had to pee. Ever since I was a small boy, the high stress manifested in contracted bladder muscles. Now I felt like I was bursting. The closest bathroom was by the radiology. I was within my goal when a Hispanic woman carrying a little girl stopped me. Please, doctor, help me. She's burning up with a fever. With that, the little girl puked about good 6 feet and nailed my pants leg. I sighed. The emergency department is back around the left and Dr. Williamson stared right in my face, grinned as he neatly placed the puke around the ground and plucked into the bathroom so I desperately needed to use. I'll take you to the emergency admission. I was assured that I wouldn't make it to the head in time, but wetting my big boy pants would be better than being chewed out by Dr. Williamson and the rest of the senior staff. As I began to lead the mother and child, I heard, "It's fun, it's fun, it's fun," echoing from the bathroom. A young man disheveled in clothes and a wild beard burst out of the man's bathroom and looked at me with pure fury. He lurched towards me when I saw the hammer in his hand and the blood dripping off that perfectly circular 1-inch diameter of the hammer's head, just the size of the wound on Billy's head. For a moment I froze, but something deep inside said, "Run." The woman ran in direction, back the way she came and presumably to another hospital. I ran in another, knees trembling, hearing him stumble after I tried to shout, "Code Silver!" for a non-patient with weapons in the workplace, but my throat was too tight and I could hear him running behind me. I slipped my badge over the card reader, burst through the double doors into the ER, and pushed them shut. He hammered frantically on the double doors, determined to beat them down. What if he got through? I managed to stammer, "Code Silver, he attacked Dr. Billy Wong. He looks like a bum. Male, blood dripping from my hammer." My pulse was racing. I could feel that I had wet my pants, but I no longer cared. 2 guards went around the ambulance to entrance to cut him off. The cop who was watching the prisoner with high blood pressure drew his gun and followed. Another guard came up to me, calling his code Silver to his walkie-talkie. The overhead passengers boomed in to announce the emergency. "Did you see a gun?" I shook my head. "Hammer. Tell me what happened." I tried hard to think but put it into words. I was going from the chapel to the bathroom by radiology. A woman with a sick child could not find ED. I was leading her to Dr. Williamson when went to the bathroom. And this man came out with a hammer dripping blood. He chased me back there. Stammering had stopped. Now I heard the shouting and arguing. The active shooter response plan, training last month, had that staff members shouldn't attempt to intervene or negotiate. That suited me fine. Let the paid professionals handle this one. I hit the Ed's shower. The hot water then changing into my spare scrubs calmed me. When it was time to go and suck it in and pretend to be a doctor, I pulled another nitrosis overdose. I was praying that the Narcan up to the young man's nose. 2 middle-aged men with shoulders holstered, printing through the jackets of cheap suits, knocked to the ground of the treatment room, and waved the bandages at me. I had the nurses take over. One of the cops turned to me. "Are you a doctor, Patrick Murphy?" I nodded, yes. "This is Lieutenant Romeo. I'm Lieutenant McCarthy. We're from Homicide Division." My eyes widened. "Homicide?" "Yes. We understand that you were near the bathroom when Dr. Williamson's body was found." My mind went dizzy, and I raced. The bathroom I almost went in. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.